Whoops. Well, hello everyone. Let me adjust my camera again. This is my camera. I think that's okay. We're recording. Yes, we are. All right, perfect. So, hello everyone. Welcome back into Matt's Sports Talk. We are previewing the 2025/2026 season. So, in the last video, I talked about the teams that I think are going to finish in that number 8 or that number 9 and 10 spot. The first video in part 1, I talked about the teams that will finish in the number 7 and 8 spot. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the teams that I think are going to finish in that number 6, 5, and 4 spot, starting first with the Grace College Lady Lancers. Now, looking at them, looking at their schedule last year, they had a really rough year. 10 and 18 overall last year, 3 and 15 in the Crossroads League, just missing out on the postseason. And a large part of that was they had a ton of injuries last year. And at one point, they only had 5 active players available to play via scholarship. So obviously that was a big dent for head coach Dan Davis. And looking at their team from last year, they had to add some teams from the volleyball, they had to add some players from the volleyball team. They added Anna Ballingy from the volleyball team, and they also added Cora Ames, who was a freshman last year. Now, she was from Bicknell, Indiana, and they also added Sahara B as well, from the volleyball team. And they had 2 players that redshirted last year, and they do have one of their players last year that was a sophomore, Cadence Mellett. She is going to be the student assistant this year for the Lady Lancers. And Kenzie Ryman, the sister of Grace WBB GOAT Maddie Ryman, Kenzie will be the graduate assistant for the next 2 seasons under head coach Dan Davis. So obviously, seeing a familiar face on the sidelines for the Lady Lancers, obviously going to be, I'm sure, something that Coach Davis is going to be happy about. But looking outside of that, the Lady Lancers last year, they really struggled. And now they did have some bright spots through all the injuries. Now alum Peyton Murphy, and she just had a phenomenal season last year. And she graduated, and boy, she played some big minutes for head coach Dan Davis last year. Now, with all that said, looking at the roster for this year, we have returning guard 5'8", junior Plymouth, Michigan, Morgan Houck, sophomore guard 5'11", Maddie Pointer from LaPel, Indiana. Now, Houck and Pointer were 2 of the leading scorers for this Lady Lancer team last year, before the team suffered a lot of injuries. And then returning sophomore Frankton, Indiana, 6'1" forward Emma Sperry. Sophomore returning forward 6'1", number 11 Kate Thomas. Freshman Mariah Stolfus from Goshen, Indiana, 5'3", and Stolfus redshirted last year. Of course, she's the sister to Carter Stolfus, who played for the Grace Lancers on the men's side under head coach Scott Moore. And Carter Stolfus is now playing at the D1 level for, I believe, Southern Indiana. And then, of course, the other returners, senior forward, number 14, 6'2", Grand Haven, Michigan, number 14, Molly Long. Returning senior, Columbia City, Indiana, Becca Logenbaugh. She formerly Becca Marshall, but she got married this summer, 5'10", Lily Kreischer, 5'10", freshman guard, Butler, Indiana. Sophomore, Marion, Indiana, 5'7", Sophia Morrison, number 24, who played really well last year. Returning sophomore, Valparaiso, Indiana, 6' forward, number 25, Becca Gert. Freshman forward, number 32, Braylon Terrell, Walton, Kentucky. Freshman, Lafayette, Indiana, 5'11" forward, Riley Wetz. And 5'7" guard, Paula Fernandez from Madrid, Spain, junior. And Abby Rizima, freshman, South Holland, Illinois, 5'7" guard. And then, of course, I alluded to head coach Dan Davis, who's in his 8th year at Grace. And then his assistant coaches, Jake Anders. And then, of course, I alluded to Cadence Mellett, student assistant, Kenzie Ryman, grad assistant. So, based on that, Now, of course, that's Grace's roster. I think they are going to finish roughly in the middle of the pack. I know they lost some key players from last year, but they are returning quite a few key players that did contribute really good on offense and defense last year. So I think they'll be roughly the middle of the pack, somewhere around that 5-6 spot. But my prediction, Grace will finish in that number 6 position. And next, looking at the team that I think will finish in that number 5 spot, and that is going to be Spring Arbor University, and out of Spring Arbor, Michigan. Now, for Spring Arbor, they had a really good actually, they've had a couple of good years, and they are led by 4th-year head coach John Williams, who has done an absolutely phenomenal job leading these Lady Cougars in the state of Michigan. His assistant coaches, Alex Scott, Terrence Willis, and Randy Field. So looking at their roster, looking at their schedule last year. Hang on just 1 second, I'll get back to their schedule from last year. So looking at their schedule for last year, 19-12, 11-7 in the conference. Now, what was really interesting about them, they were 11-2 at home last year, and their only 2 home losses came to the teams that finished first and third in the Crossroads League last year. Of course, that was number 1, Indiana Wesleyan, who finished first last year, won the regular season and conference tournament, and Marian University that finished in that number 3 spot last year, that made the Crossroads League tournament championship game. And so those were the only home losses for Spring Arbor last year, was Iwu and Marian. Spring Arbor really struggled on the road, 5-9 last year. They did make the national tournament, and they have made the national tournament in every single year that John Williams has been head coach. So his first 3 seasons, they made the national tournament. Now, in the national tournament, they did play number 5, Briarcliff, only lost by 4 points. So a really close game. Briarcliff, a top 10 team in the nation, I might add. So that was really impressive. So looking at Spring Arbor's roster this year, their biggest loss, though, is former center Alana Nelson, who, had a stellar 5-year career, and not just at Spring Arbor, but she played at another college before transferring. And then due to the NCAA Division I's rule regarding an extra year of eligibility, she is going to be playing technically a 6th year of college at University of Purdue Fort Wayne, NCAA Division I. So really impressive to see that. So looking at Spring Arbor's roster, now they are returning quite a few key players from last year, and one of them in particular is number 10, Emma Smyska, senior guard/forward, 5'9", Leslie, Michigan. She played great last year and really shot well from beyond the arc as well. And also another key player, number 22, Elena Kolesa, senior forward, 5'11", West Chicago, Illinois. Kolesa played extremely well last year, and not just from beyond the arc, but also in the paint as well. So she's going to be another key player to watch. And also number 41, returning sophomore guard, 5'10", Dansville, Michigan, Megan Zeitz. And for Zeitz, this was another young lady that had a really impressive freshman season under head coach John Williams. And Zeitz played absolutely amazing basketball, not just, again, from beyond the arc, but also in the paint. And she is the third key player that I will be watching closely this year, because she is just a phenomenal player. She has just amazing speed, and is really going to be someone to watch closely. Now, other players for Coach Williams: freshman guard Dexter, Michigan, 5'9", number 1, Elena Blumberg. Lexi Linder, senior guard, returning, number 2, 5'5", Monroeville, Illinois. Ashley Weller, sophomore guard, number 3, 5'10", Pleasant Lake, Michigan. Senior forward, 5'10", Swartz Creek, Michigan. Number 4, Ava Bulk. And freshman forward, 6 foot, Greenfield, Indiana. Number 5, Madison Socini. And number 11, Haven Chapman, freshman guard forward from Otisville, Michigan, 5'11". Rylan Goodwin, freshman guard, number 14, 5'5", Elkhart, Indiana. Freshman guard, 5'9", Westfield, Indiana. Number 20, Aubrey Crockett. Freshman guard, 5'10", Bronson, Michigan. Number 23, Aubrey Calloway. And the biggest one, number 12, Rachel Reichard, graduate student, a forward, 6'2", Cincinnati, Ohio, transfers from NCAA Division II, Tiffin University. This is the biggest pickup for head coach John Williams, and she could be an excellent replacement for Alana Nelson down low in the low post. So Spring Arbor is going to be a big, big team to watch next year. Now, in my personal opinion, I'm going to predict they'll finish 5th. Now, last year they finished 4th, and the year before that they finished 3rd. So obviously, they're going to be a team to watch for sure. But with all that said, this is going to be a team that is definitely going to be, at least in my opinion, finishing in that number 5 spot. That is for sure. And then looking at the team that I think is going to finish in that number 4 spot, that a team that finished 8th just a couple of years ago, finished in that number 6 spot last season, finished in the number 5 spot this past season. That is the Huntington Lady Foresters. And this is a team under head coach Darby Maggard. In her 3rd year, led the team to just an incredible, and I mean incredible season last year, going 18-13, 10-8 in the conference. Now, the one bad thing for Huntington, they struggled on the road. Now, in 23-24, Huntington was 3-10 on the road, 12-3 at home. Last year, 11-4 at home, so roughly about the same. But they did improve mightily on the road last year, going 6-8. But obviously, you want to have a little bit more improvement on the road heading into this year. And for Huntington, they beat some really, really good teams last year. They upset then number 7 in the country, University of the Cumberlands in Huntington, 90-84. Lost 92-80 to IU Northwest, a team that made the national tournament. Had that tough loss at home to IU, 81-79. And then after that, and really what amazed me in the month of February, in double overtime, 80-77 win over then number 14 in the country, St. Francis, courtesy of a Gabby Melby 3-pointer off balance, buzzer beater, an amazing shot, and I'm never going to grow tired of watching that. And then they had a 10-point come from behind win at Mount Vernon, a loss at home to Marion, a big win at Grace, a 21-point win at home against Spring Arbor, a record-setting win at Taylor, a 11-point win at home on Goshen on Senior Day, then a 93-85 loss at Spring Arbor in the opening round of the league tournament, and then made the national tournament for the first time since 2015, and upsetting the number 3 seed in that pod, LSU Shreveport, by 8, 64-56. And then, of course, losing to Hastings 90-66 in the second round. So, obviously, for head coach Darby Maggard, this is going to be a team that is going to be looking for an improvement this year. And I think they have what it takes. They're not a young team anymore. They've grown the last 2 years from finishing 6th 2 years ago, finishing 5th last year. And I predict they are going to finish in that number 4 spot this year, get a first ever home playoff game, and host Spring Arbor out of Michigan, as I believe Spring Arbor will finish in that number 5 spot. So looking at Huntington's roster, number 1, Bailey Kellum, junior guard, 5'9", Leato, Indiana. Kellum, I might add, in just her first 2 seasons as a Lady Forester, has 99 made 3-pointers, and that is a little more than 90 3-pointers away from setting the all-time program record for most 3-pointers made in a career. So obviously a huge pickup for head coach Darby Maggard, and getting a fantastic player like Kellum. Returning guard, sophomore from number 2, Columbia City, Indiana, Kendra Sheets. Freshman Isabel Shepard. Freshman guard, 5'6", number 10, Carmel, Indiana. Freshman guard, number 11, Hayden Bailey from Huntington, Indiana. Junior guard, returning number 12, Peyton Harso, 5'5", from Wolcottville, Indiana. Returning guard / forward, 6'1", Morgantown, Indiana, number 21, Kendall Yoakum. Returning freshman junior forward, 6'1", Fort Wayne, Indiana, number 24, Annika Nelson. Returning junior, number 30, Tegan Akers, a junior guard, 5'10", Fishers, Indiana. Returning sophomore center, number 31, Lauren Merritt, 6'4", from Peru, Indiana. Freshman guard, number 32, Allison Price, 5'10", freshman guard, Marysville, Ohio. Returning sophomore center, 6 foot, number 33, Addie Shank from Yoder, Indiana. And returning center, junior, 6'1", from Loveland, Ohio, Liv Raby. So that is And so again, in my personal opinion, I think Huntington will finish in that number 4 spot. Now, again, I alluded to St. Francis not having an updated roster or schedule, so whenever they get their rosters uploaded, I will be talking about them just on their women's side. Now, their men's side, they've lost a lot of, and I mean a lot of players that they had last year. Now, I'm not going to record a separate video talking about their men's team, but I will record a separate video talking about their women's team when they get their roster fully set. But I'll just leave at the end of this video, and then I'll record a video talking about the top 2 teams in the league that I think are going to finish in that number 1 and 2 spot. There's a lot to talk about between the top 2 teams. Stay tuned for that. But whenever St. Francis uploads their roster to their website, I will record a separate video talking specifically about them, because there is a lot to talk about regarding their returning players and a player that they're going to have transferring in as well. So whenever that happens, whenever they upload their roster to their website, that's when I will be recording a separate video talking more about them specifically. So again, make sure that you stay tuned for that. But for the purpose of this video, I will predict St. Francis and Coach Jeremy Henning in his 4th year, they will finish in that number 3 spot. And now they finished in the number 2 spot last year, finished, I believe, 4th. I think they finished 4th the year prior. So they did improve last year, but I still think they're going to be easily a top 3 team in the Crossroads League, but I'll predict that they will finish in that number 3 spot. So stay tuned. Coming up, I'll be talking about IWU, Indiana Wesleyan, and Marion, and there is a ton of stuff to talk about with them that I for those number 1 and 2 spots for my predictions. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.